thank you all for tuning in to our 6th episode of Sensible Dissent, powered by Razzle Cannabis Broadcasting Network, starring yours truly and my favorite boss bitch in the making, Sada Daniel. And on today's episode, we are honored to have one of my best friends, my former business partner, and a professional mentor, Ed Schwarz, here to help us make sense of some of the concentrate versus edible bullshit that's going on that the state of California doesn't seem to make any sense of. But we would also like to take a moment to pay our respects to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, without whom us women would not be able to have leased an apartment, consented to our own medical treatment, or borrowed money to start our own business. With the recent tragedy of the U.S. experiencing the loss of notorious RBG when she left her body, we wanted to make extra certain that everyone here knows that we continue to push these issues in her honor. And for those of you who didn't already pick it up, our show's namesake, Sensible Dissent, was in her honor, as we feel it's our duty to dissent sensibly. And as Ruth says, dissent speaks to our future age. It's not simply to say my colleagues are wrong and I didn't do this way, but the greatest dissents become court opinions, and gradually over time their views become the dominant view. So that's the dissenters' hope, that they are writing not for today, but for tomorrow.
Stuffed and Stacked is a California-based print and design company focused on the cannabis industry, a print manufacturer that gets it. From seed to sale, we have hands-on experience with the products you want to get to market, and we can't wait to help you with your next project.
Welcome back, and a huge thanks to Stuffed and Stacked for keeping all of our bottles, bags, and stickers stuffed and stacked, and keeping our lights on here at Sensible Dissent. And I just want to introduce today, like I said, one of my closest friends, Ed Schwarz. He is in the cannabis industry for about as long as the cannabis industry has been an actual thing in the world of regulated cannabis. Ed comes from Colorado, which is where I originally met him, and he has over 11 years experience in the actual regulated market, which I think, when I think about the number, there's probably only 13 years in regulated, if we really thought like of licensing and regulations and having a piece of paper that says this is for marijuana, right?
More than just being a holistic business.
Yes, more than being a holistic business. And Ed served as a distinguished employee leader and a consultant for dozens of companies. The clinic, the lab, Inclusive Cannabis, which we were business partners in, Harborside, Knox Medical. He's worked with High Times and my current company, Chronic Pain Relief, among with many others. He's assisted municipalities, states, and county governments to help design the launch of their medical and adult use cannabis programs, which is pretty amazing. And Ed was also a safety manager for the first cannabis processing manufacturing facility in the United States to pass OSHA inspections without any infractions or fines. So he is definitely what I would have to say as being one of the leading people in the cannabis industry right now when it comes to development of manufacturing and extraction labs. I'm super lucky to have met Ed while we were working together at the clinic, where I basically told him that we would be friends, whether he liked it or not, because we were both very interested in something in 2013 that everyone looked at us like we were crazy when we were talking about the temperature variables for sugar. Right? Yep. That is how we made friends, because a company called Sweet Mary Jane in Colorado was making sugar packets, and I was curious how you could get sugar to a temperature without burning things, because I didn't know what the temperature of sugar was to melt it down and reconstitute it. And that was a very interesting question to me, because I was at that point becoming more versed in temperatures of cannabinoids, right? And the importance of temperatures. And I think it's probably the main reason why you're here today, to have the conversation that we're going to have about concentrates versus edibles, because that sugar conversation is very relative to this, right?
Very true.
Because when we think about sugar, right, we think about it's an edible.
It is. And a lot of people don't think about this as when it's actually used in baking, it's considered a liquid. So even more...
Sugar's a liquid?
Sugar is a liquid in baking when you're measuring it.
Huh.
Yeah.
I had no idea about that, which is even crazier. But I do want to ask, my first question for you, what would you say is the main difference between a concentrate and an edible when it comes to, efficacy or delivery methods? Because the laws that we're going to discuss today go into how I don't think California fully understands what that is.
Yeah, I don't think California used much logic when it came to deciding what a concentrate and what an edible truly is. And when we think about it, when you say concentrate versus edible, everybody instantly assumes, oh, that's easy. You smoke one and you eat the other. Duh, right? It gets a little bit deeper than that because the way that California defines things. California says concentrates can include tablets that you swallow. So, I mean, you swallow something that sounds like an edible, right?
Yeah.
But to California, that's a concentrate.
Yeah.
So we have to think about, one, what really a concentrate versus an edible is. And by a scientific definition, a concentrate is something you can vaporize or use sublingually or infuse into an edible product to consume.
So if I was talking about like concentrated lavender, it could be a tincture lavender or a pill. The same, like if I was talking about something other than cannabis.
I mean, with lavender, you're concentrating it to turn it into a pill. At the end of the day, that pill is an edible. But it gets a little bit different with cannabinoids and THC specifically because of the way that your body processes them. When you inhale cannabis or you use it sublingually, your body takes in that delta-9 THC, brings it into your bloodstream, and brings it across your blood-brain barrier so that you get the effect of THC that we know and love, that provides that wonderful high and also the amazing medical benefit that so many people are after.
Via lung.
Via lung or sublingual ingestion.
Sublingual.
So not swallowing it, letting it dissolve under your tongue, like a tincture or a Kinslip or something of that effect.
Because when you do it sublingually, you're bypassing your liver altogether.
Exactly. So that's where, when you get into the edibles, that's where I truly look at the classification of edibles being different, is because when you take the THC into your system and it goes through your gut, it gets converted both through the stomach acids and a class of enzymes in what we call the P450 system, commonly known as CYP enzymes. There's the CYPY2A and 3A class that we specifically look at the most, but those actually take the delta-9 THC and convert it by oxidizing it into the 11-hydroxy variant of THC.
And I actually read an article recently that explains that 6% of the American population is without P450 enzymes that allow for their body to uptake THC in a way that it metabolizes. So for all those people that say, I eat all the milligrams of edibles and I never get high, that's like a real thing.
And that's because their liver is basically taking the THC molecule and instead of oxidizing it into that 11-hydroxy variant that provides that heavier psychoactive effect, which has been estimated by some studies to be 4 times as psychoactive as delta-9 THC by itself.
Joe Rogan says it makes you see dolphins.
It's, if you eat enough milligrams, you can see just about anything. Let's be real here. Or as one of our great friends says, milligrams.
Yeah, milligrams.
But that's why I come back to that discussion of concentrate versus edible, because really California missed the boat on it so much, I feel like, because sublinguals are something that they're classifying as an edible, so it's something that we're not ingesting, and I think that those actually, I prefer, when I take edibles, I love to use sublingual methods as much as possible because I want to get that maximum benefit of the delta-9 THC without that super crazy intense psychoactive high that the 11-hydroxy variant can bring along. And you get a lot of people who actually have those first-time experiences that they really hate with edibles. They say, I ate an edible the first time and I ended up in a hospital and I was seeing God and I thought I was going to die. That's 11-hydroxy variant of THC doing that. That's where we get those super extra intense highs that really turn people off from edibles at the end of the day.
Well, now that we've got the science, we're going to turn to Sara in just a minute and let her talk about the sun and the moon. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how California views all the stuff that you just said scientifically. So with that said, let me turn it over to you, Sara.
So yesterday, the sun entered Libra, and with the election a little more than a month away, Libra season asks us to see where we can draw more balance and compromise into our lives. The sign of Libra embodies team spirit, and we're going to need a lot of that to get Trump out of the White House. And it's also the sign of harmony and fairness. And although we're living in a time that seems to be lacking both, let's hope the next few weeks can bring some justice and relief. But until then, keep the inner peace and indulge in that Venus-ruled energy by tuning into your own needs and keeping in mind that putting yourself first is the greatest form of resistance.
Dissent, in the words of RBG. Thank you for that, Sada. Honestly, I don't even know what to think of the world at this point, or what the next couple months are going to have to hold for America. So we're just going to stay pissed about weed stuff right now. We'll tune in on some other worldly shit at the end, though. So today, our dumb law is... what's the difference between concentrates and edibles in California on the regulations? And so in order for me to get down to the nitty gritty, I had to first pull definitions from the regulations. And so I'm going to read some defs, short for definitions, and we're going to talk about how dumb they are. It's a lot of times I'm like, well, this isn't a dumb law. It's just kind of confused. And this one is very confused, but it's also dumb. Whoever did the advising on these 4 definitions and how it shook out, whoever you are out there in the world, you poorly advised the government. These are dumb laws. I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm saying it was poor advice and the laws are dumb. So, with that said, in the current regulations, cannabis concentrate means that it has undergone a process to concentrate one or more active cannabinoids, thereby increasing the product's potency. For purpose of this chapter, cannabis concentrate includes, but is not limited to, the separated resinous trichomes of cannabis, including tinctures, capsules, suppositories, extracts, vape cartridges, inhaled products, i.e. dabs, shatter, and wax, and tablets as defined by subsection RR. Now, first and foremost, we did talk about the whole tablet or the whole wax, shatter, dabs conversation. Obviously, whoever had this conversation with the government did not, because they put that in the fucking definition. Dab, comma, shatter, comma, and wax. First of all, those are the same thing technically in a lot of these situations, and you're talking about a process versus a texture, and none of that tells me what you're actually talking about. So thanks for the definition that gives me no definition. Then we go so far as to add, what is an edible product? Because I'm like, okay, I don't fucking understand the first rule, cannabis concentrate, because it threw in there capsules are not edible. So I'm not sure what the fuck I'm doing when I put it in my mouth and I swallow it, and what the difference between swallowing and eating is. I maybe need to talk to somebody that does those videos about chewing and eating food professionally, because maybe they've got a better definition. And then we've got edible cannabis product, which means a cannabis product intended to be used orally, in whole or in part, for human consumption. For this purpose, the chapter, edible cannabis product, with quotes, includes cannabis products that dissolve or disintegrate in the mouth, but does not include any product otherwise defined as cannabis concentrate. So it's saying it's not this or that, but it is potentially something that dissolves in your mouth. Now, to me, if it dissolves in your mouth, you're not actually fucking eating it, right? So I'm even more confused. So we've taken away tablet from edible and put it to concentrate, and then we've taken away dissolving product, which should be in concentrate in all reality, because it's going directly to your blood, as Ed told me 6 minutes ago, and we put it into the edible product. So let's go even further, because I'm like, what the fuck is an orally consumed concentrate? Because that sounds dumb. And then it says, okay, so this means a cannabis concentrate that is intended to be consumed by mouth and is not otherwise an edible cannabis product. So you're saying this definition is not that definition, but orally consumed concentrate includes tinctures, capsules, and tablets that meet the definition of subsection RR. So now I'm like, what the fuck is subsection RR? Because everything just keeps talking about subsection RR. So here we are, R2, tablet. The final answer is tablet. The tablet is defined as means a solid preparation containing a single serving of THC or other cannabinoid that is intended to be swallowed whole and that is not formulated to be chewable, dispersible, effervescent, orally disintegrating, used under suspension, or consumed in a manner other than swallowed whole, and that does not contain any added natural or artificial flavors or sweetener. So a tablet is essentially, and it says a single serving of THC, which is 10 milligrams, right?
Yeah.
So a tablet of cannabis is considered an orally consumed concentrate and can fall under regulations in the world of a concentrate. So I thought, I must not understand what the heck they're saying, because there's no way that anyone's going to think that letting somebody take 1,000 milligrams worth of pills without providing any dosing limits of the instructions of like what this looks like and saying that we could have thousands of them. But in a statement from Clarity from the CDPH, because I was like, maybe somebody's talked about this. Sure they did. Edible cannabis products are products that are similar to traditional food products such as cakes, cookies, beverages, and juices, teas and coffees, chocolates, gummies, gum, and mints. All right, so now I'm more confused because you're telling me that gum and mints, which technically would be dispersing medicine the same way that a tincture would, right?
Correct, yep. Because you're keeping it in your mouth.
Right.
You never swallow it. You don't eat gum.
No.
That's why gum shouldn't be edible. You don't eat it.
Nope.
You chew it.
Yes.
I mean, there's some kids who eat gum, but, you know.
You're not supposed to eat gum. I used to get told that it's going to, like, stick in your stomach for, like, the rest of your life, and, like, you're going to grow a watermelon. Oh, wait. No,
those were definitely involved. Those were definitely involved somehow, though.
Yeah, but, so then, edible products have THC limit of 10 milligrams per serving, which I got, and 100 milligrams per package. So, what you're telling me is I can have 1,000 milligrams of pills in one bottle, but only 100 milligrams of gums or mints.
Let me take it one step further for you, Nichole. You could actually have one single pill that's 1,000 milligrams.
Based on the fact that the way that the 1,000 milligrams, what a dose of concentrate is.
Exactly.
Because it's not a fucking edible anymore, it's a concentrate.
But yet that same piece of gum that can provide more benefit without as much psychoactive effect is still limited to 10 milligrams.
So then, the CDPH goes on to say, the cannabis concentrates are not classified as edible products. Okay, still further down the rabbit hole of confusion. Concentrates include products like tinctures, capsules, extracts, butter, cooking oil, and vape cartridges. Bitch, what do you do with butter?
Oh, you eat it. That's what it was. That's
what you do with butter, right?
Yeah.
But butter is concentrate.
Yes.
Oil is concentrate.
Yes.
Not considered an edible.
Correct.
Okay, so concentrates have a limit of 1,000 milligrams per package for the adult use and 2,000 milligrams per package for medical market. So what you're telling me, because concentrates have no dosing requirements the same way edibles do,
Correct.
we can now make a 1,000 milligram pill.
Correct.
I mean, based on the way this reads.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, that may not be the interpretation that a CDPH inspector would have for you, but what the law reads, that's you can have 1,000 milligram pill, and if you're a medical patient, you can have a 2,000 milligram pill. Which I don't know who could take 2,000 milligrams, but I mean, go crazy, have fun.
They could. But with that, I definitely have a couple questions.
Okay.
Do you think this makes any sense? Or does it make more questions than clarity for you?
So, short answer, it doesn't make sense. Long answer is there is some inkling of sense to the basis of it, but the fact that there hasn't been any differentiation between a sublingual ingestion method and an actual orally consumed, gone through your stomach, go through your stomach acid, hit your liver enzyme, and first pass metabolism in your liver, there hasn't been any distinction between that in California laws. So really, it doesn't make any sense at all, because when I, as a manufacturer, look at producing products that are going in somebody's mouth that are infused with cannabis, I break it down in one of two ways. Are they swallowing it, or is it staying in their mouth, or dissolving? And really, that's the true difference. That's the line on a scientific and manufacturing, processing, true production-based level. California's law looks at it completely and totally arbitrary to that, and it doesn't make sense.
So there was this one time last year that I had to take Sada to the hospital because she ate some pills that were too strong, and she thought that she was sick, but as it turns out, she was just having a super delayed reaction to how high she was.
Yep.
10 hours later, delayed reaction. I was trying to go to bed, and I took them in the morning.
And she's a person that regularly consumes cannabis edibles. So in a real life experience, by ending up at the hospital at 3 a.m, and now mind you, the good hospital in Long Beach, shout out to Long Beach Memorial. Do not ever go to anything other than Long Beach Memorial if you are in the LBC and you need to go to the hospital. Definitely. But we went to the good hospital, and she realized that she was having just like literally a panic attack from too much THC. And so I've seen in real life the reality of how a simple pill seeming to be, a lot less harmful. They're more like especially for older people. It's like you have like a less of a mental block against it, because that's how you take medication.
It's Western medicine,
right?
Perfectly.
And so it's not scary, and then you take it, and then you're like, wow, that was 1,000 milligrams. Yep. And with that, we will go ahead and get to our next commercial break so that we can keep the lights on. Welcome back, and a huge shout out to Sheila Gibson, who was actually on our second episode of Sensible Dissent, for sponsoring us and also keeping us in line for all of our patents, trademark, and cannabis IP needs. But we're off to my favorite part of every episode, the Golden Cock Award. And this week's Golden Cock Award goes out to whoever thought it made sense to let somebody swallow 1,000 milligrams of THC at one time. Because for those of you who have not been on the spiritual journey from eating too much cannabis, well, I'll let you know, 1,000 milligrams worth of THC will make you either think that you see God in all her glory, or better understand why they say cannabis is a drug to begin with. And if that wasn't enough to scare the shit out of Grandma and keep her away from getting high again, how about we give her 1,000 milligram tablet and hope that she doesn't call the cops on herself with her own thoughts tonight? But with that, I also want to make sure that everyone knows swallowing and inhaling are very different. Ask Bill Clinton. Thanks again to everyone out there who forgot that not everyone can hold their weight in edibles. And now for the most important part of every episode, this week's prisoner. This week's prisoner is Jeff, or El Jefe, as he's known on the Instagram world, as well as to many people throughout California and Oregon. He was a lead extractor for an extraction company in California and Oregon. After the company that he worked for needed a bigger facility, they moved Jeff's parents into a different house and started running their operation out of his parents' house. When they got raided, Jeff and his dad were on the warrant. The company was never charged because, well, it was the trap. And then they charged Jeff for all the equipment that was lost during the raids. Now he's serving time. Jefe is to be released into a halfway house sometime in March of 2021, which seems like no time at all for those of us on the outside. However, as somebody who's spent a few weeks in a cell, 6 months must seem like a lifetime. But in the meantime, Jefe, since I seem to have a thing for extract troublemakers, Jefe expects some letters from me. I'll be your pen pal, Shardy.
Thanks for that, Nichole, and I'm sure Jeff will be looking forward to reading your letters. And now, some nugs of wisdom from the OG herself, the Queen of Stones. First, I gotta shuffle. I don't play it, and I won't dance to it while you play it, which is my favorite, most peachy card. You will know that you are in the prime of your purpose when it seems like everything is against you.
That's
Felt
real
that
shit
one.
right there.
Forgive yourself for putting up with all the shit you didn't deserve.
This is the most 2020 read ever.
And lastly, why not? Why not just vote for Biden? Get Donald Trump out of office.
Well, with that said, it's very important for us to definitely all participate in what's happening over the next, 40 days, and that we not lose hope for change. I often tell people that my favorite thing about cannabis is that, to me, it means hope. But for those of you who didn't catch it, our current political problem seems to blame a lack of housekeeping for the recent forest fires. There's some psychotic woman trying to compare wearing a mask to police stepping on the throat of George Floyd. So if you aren't outraged about that, you really aren't paying attention.
And remember, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk all have the power to end world hunger on their own, twice, and still be billionaires.
But they don't. And if the rest of that shit didn't convince you that this is all a simulation, then you must not know this. Donald Trump Jr.'s current girlfriend, who screamed at the American RNC,
"Determine your destiny,"
is Gavin Newsom's ex-wife. That is all. Manifest West out. Beep boop beep.